Hello everybody. So today we are going to be experimenting more with our pen tool. Now last time we used the pen tool and we've got several different tools to choose from. So we're going to hold down the button over here on the pen tool and we're going to find this thing called the Curvature Pen Tool. And you should have downloaded this picture of a bird here. So I'm just going to open this up here, this bird.jpg. And this is just a image I found on the Adobe official site. And I'm just basically going to go through the shall we say, their tutorial with you. Essentially, this Curvature Pen Tool is a little, I would say necessarily more exact, but it's a little different than the Bezier Pen Tool. Now, the Bezier Pen Tool, or the pen tool itself, basically you click and then you click and drag and you can form these little curves. And these curves kind of, I have it set to shape here. Let me just take off this, let me take off the stroke and this fill here. We can kind of see like the curves that we're using as we go through. So you can see I can make this little shape here. I can do any number of things with the shape, you know, as far as I can add more points to it. I can drag it around. I can double click on the point and I can make it disappear. I can pull the different points around. The idea is with the Bezier pen tool, we've got several different things we can do with it. But this curvature pen tool, it helps us choose our sort of shapes with a little more exactitude, and we can actually affect the angles a bit better. So this is a good tool to use. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create a series of shapes over this bird, and we're going to create this new kind of with this new tool. So the first thing you want to do, once again, you want to make sure you have your curvature pen tool selected, and we're going to change up here. If you don't have this already selected, we're going to change the settings here from if it's path or pixels, we'll change it to shape. The idea with a shape is that it maintains its sort of angles and its curves and its resolution no matter how we resize it. We can do any number of things. We can change what color it is. We can change the various borders, but we can't erase it and we can't paint over it. It's its own layer. It's its own shape. We have to what's called rasterize it. And we'll talk about what rasterization and what vector means in later units. In the meantime, though, let's make sure we have our shape. I'm going to set my fill to none. I'm going to set my stroke to none. And over here, if you want to look at some of these things, this right here says, as soon as we make a new shape, we're going to make a new layer, and we'll just keep it here for now. As far as all this stuff, we'll just align to selection, and as far as this goes, we'll just have it say bring shape to front. So whatever we make is going to be in the front, and if we want to bring it to the back, then we'll do just that. Over here, we've got an option. This is just going to change how it looks. So if you can't see blue very well against this, you can change it to red. That way, when you make your paths, it'll look red, right? If you change the thickness from 1 to 3, it'll make your path a good deal thicker, so you can kind of see how that goes. Probably not the best for this particular project since the lines we're using are somewhat fine, but so just and then align edges is basically just allowing you to snap to the different paths and stuff. So what we'll do is I'm just going to change mine back to the way it was with 1 pixel thickness for this just default blue, but you can change yours to whatever you want. Now with this right here, I'm just going to start making shapes, and as I make the shapes, I'll explain what I'm doing. So I'm going to start over here. So go ahead, and make sure you have your Curvature Pen Tool selected. I'm going to start right here where the beak meets the face, in the very center here, and I'm just going to click all the way out here to the end of the beak, and I'll click back over here to the beginning of the beak. And you see already we have a bit of a curve. And then I'll click right here at the end of the beak. Now we have this weird little kind of shape here, but all we have to do to make this an angle is just double click, oops, just double click this line here, right there. And the same thing here. We just have to double click this right here, and then just double click this, and now we have this triangle shape. And what we can do now is we can just hover over this line here, and we can just kind of bring this in by making a new point. And there's that. Now, what we want to do now is we want to apply a color to this, so we can kind of put this. So I'm going to make a color, and you can do whatever color you want, but I'm just going to go over here through this, and I'm just going to choose from these swatches. These swatches are just sort of preloaded shapes, and you can actually create your own palette of swatches, and we'll talk about how we do that later. But I'm just going to start off with this little light orange color for the top of the beak, and then we'll get into it. So now that this shape is done, I'm going to go over here to with my pen, and I'm going to have to make sure I click outside of the shape here. So let me just right. I'll just choose back to my pen tool here, and I'll just click over here by the chin, and I'll just once again making my new shape, get as close as I can to the edge there, connect these all together, and then, okay, so once again we have this little oblong shape. I'm going to take away my fill for just a second so I can edit it. And once again, I can actually move these around by clicking and dragging them to where they want to go. And I'll just double click here, and I'll double click here, and I'll double click here for now, and I'll just sort of grab this in the middle and kind of pull it out a little bit, and I'll just move this slightly over here. And I'll just grab this and pull this towards here. So we have that little shape there. All right, so once again, we have the bottom of the beak. I'll take my fill tool, and I'll choose like a darker orange. All right, so now we have this really brightly colored beak here. And at some point, if I want to get close, I can kind of look up here. You can see there's a bit of a gap here. I don't want that gap, so I'm just going to pull this up a little bit. I can use my cursor keys, my arrow keys to kind of navigate it around a little bit. I could even expand it in size slightly to see if I want to make it a little bit bigger. All these things are possible using these shapes here. The only thing you can't do is just delete it. So let's see, am I going off the edge there? Maybe I can rotate it down slightly. This little, if you hover over the corners and you have your little, or shall we say, transform controls selected, you can grab this little crosshair here and put it wherever you want, and that'll be the axis upon which it turns. And so I'm just going to turn it slightly this way, just so the rest of the beak kind of stays in line. All right, great. Okay, so with that done, we'll just continue on with the face here. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to create this little shape to the head here, and the shape to the head here, I'm going to actually set this to go underneath everything. So I'm going to change my little mode here to bring shape to back, and what I'll do, actually say backward. I'll take this right here, and I'll get my pen tool going. I'll just start down here, and once again, I'll just find the points here, and it's going to create. Oops, actually, my fills off. It's going to create several little curves that don't necessarily go the way you want them to go, but we'll bend them back the way they're supposed to go here. Okay, my cursor disappeared for a second. So with all that done, we have this odd little shape here. I'll just double click on this, and this as well, and I'll just drag this in. And same here, I'll double click on this. That's good. I can just leave that the way it is. I'll drag this out slightly. Just lining it up as best you can to match the curves. I'll double click this. Drag this down slightly, and that just about evens it out. And there we go. Great. Okay, so with this, this is going to be both sides of this little, small gray triangle here. I'm going to go ahead and just fill this up with. I'm just going to do like a light blue color here, so I'll just light blue, and good with that. Okay. Okay. Well, in this case, what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to go here by layers menu, just drag this down below everything else. So there's that. Okay, good. All right, so with that done, I actually didn't change it to bring it back. With that done, what we'll do is we'll go over to our Shapes tool. So instead of using our Curvature Pen, we'll go to our Shapes tool here, and we'll grab an ellipse, and let's just go ahead and draw the eyes out. So I'm just going to draw a circle here where the eyes are. I'll hold down Shift to constrain it to be a perfect circle. And I'll fill it with white. I'll drag it up here. Okay. Now with here, you want to make sure with your Shapes tool selected that you have shape selected up here. And I'll just take away the fill for just a second. Oops. No, I'll bring it back to white. All right. And then another circle here. And in this case, I'll fill it with black. I'll just move it up here to the center. Now, if you don't quite know where the center is, what you can do is you can hold down Shift with your Move tool selected, and you can align them both using these little align tools up here at the top of your screen. And I'll just pull this up here to match over the eye. Right, good. All right, so now let's do the let's do this. I'm going to select on this. I'm just going to make this a little less opaque. And I'm going to draw this little triangle here. So let me get my Path tool, my Curvature Pen tool again. And once again, I'll just draw this little shape here, just getting the points down. Okay. And let me just take away the fill for just a second. And I'll just double click here, and I'll double click here. And I'll drag this shape. Let's drag this shape as well. Okay, that's good. And I'll put like a sort of a darker blue here. So we originally had, I think, this blue. Let's choose this blue here. And what we'll do is we'll click back on this layer. We'll bring the opacity back up 100. And then we'll create this next shape here. So this next shape is going to be a little complicated. So I'll zoom out slightly here. And what's great about this is that you can just draw the shape. And as you draw it, you can essentially just kind of put the points where you think they should go, and then later you can edit it and you can add more points as things go by. So with this fill, I'm going to take the fill away here, and let's look. We got. I'll just go down a little bit here just to give myself some room. Right up here, up there. If you hold on the space bar, this little hand icon appears, and you can click and drag and move your canvas around. Okay, so that's done. I'll just go around and I'll see if I can't pull it back the way it should go. So once again, you double click the anchor points to cause them to go from a curve to a sort of sharper point. I think I added a new point on accident. Okay, good. There. Great. Now again, you can use whatever color scheme you want for this, but you want to make sure that whatever color scheme you're using, that the shapes are distinguishable from one another. That's really good. Okay, now pull this down, pull this out. Okay, good. So now this is immediately going to cover up our eyes. So we'll just have to move the layer down a little bit here. Let's fill this up with maybe even a darker blue. So let's see if we can find a darker blue. That's probably too dark. Alright, I like this right here. Alright, so once again, I'll just take this shape and I'll just drag it down. There you go. Okay, good. So we've got a couple more shapes here. We've got the wing, and then we've got the sort of stomach here. So I'll just start in here. I'll just start right here on the edge where this corner meets here, and I'll just click around. Alright, and I'll just make this really big, and then we'll just put everything below it. So make sure the fill's gone. Just keep turning your fill off and on as you go through, so you can. So I'll just drag this out. Okay, so this is going to be a different color than the rest. I'll make this white, is what I'll do. So I'll fill this up with white. Alright, and once again we'll make sure to drag this below everything so it doesn't cover anything up. And I'll pull the opacity down slightly so I can see the other shape here, the shape of the wing. And once again, because we have these shapes laid down already, we can actually use this to our advantage. I don't have to make this super precise. I can just put this down below. So let's just go ahead and grab our pen tool here, and we'll just start right here where the wing begins, and I'll just make my points. Fill. Fill that up with this blue here. I want to say it was this blue. Nope. This blue. Nope. This blue. Let's see if we can find it. There we go. That's better. Okay. So with that done, what we'll do is we'll edit this up, pull this down. Okay, it's fine. Okay, that looks good. Alright, then what we'll do is we'll grab our shape down here, we'll pull the opacity back up. Kind of take a look at what we've got so far. Alright, I'm liking that. Alright, and then we'll do the feet finally, and then we'll do something a little bit different with the circle here. So let's again click here, and I'll just make this all in one go. So what we'll do is we'll just quick pull this out. Okay, just shape this up the best you can here, and what we'll do is I'll just make this into the same color as the beak from before. Okay, and so the last thing we'll do is the little circle that goes around it. So let me just zoom out here, and what we'll do instead of making just the branch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with my pen tool. I'm just going to make I'll make this circle here, and I'll just approximate as best I can just to. Let's go none. Fill. Okay. Right. I'll fill this up with, say, for instance, this thing here. It's blue here, so I don't want to use orange again, but maybe I can use some sort of a kind of a grayish color. Well, maybe not that. I want it to stand out. Well, I'll use gray for now. Well, then I'll use yellow. Let's use a yellow, like a pale yellow. If you don't have a color that you see like you'd like here, you can go here to the color picker. So I'll just use this like kind of pale yellow up here, like so. Alright, and then I'll do the same thing. And I'll make sure this goes below everything. So pull that down the way. Okay, and then do the same thing down here with the pen tool. I'll just grab this and I'll just make this little shape. Alright, that's probably good. Alright, and then I'll just make this background layer invisible, and so now we can see this last little thing, and I'll just could even fill it in with a new gradient here, so I'll just pull a new layer, and I'll just fill it in with something. So I'll fill it in with like a gradient tool. I'll just make a grayish gradient here, just go in the background. Oh, I'll make like a different gradient. Let's do something like let's see, I want to avoid blue, so I'll just kind of do like a teal here. I'll do like a light teal. And a dark teal. And I'll make sure it's a radial gradient. I'm just going to pull that in the back. And reverse that. Alright, that's good. Okay, so we can kind of see our little shape here. So that's a fun little use of our Curvature Pen Tool. So go ahead, you just choose whatever you want to put on the background, whatever you want to put as far as the color palette goes, or whatever you want to put on the background. What we'll do is I'll add my watermark here. Just put down hello bello. That's what I name, right? I'll shrink this down slightly. And I'll put the opacity down slightly as well. Alright, and then we'll just say this is a JPEG and save it as the last name, Curvature Pen. Alright, very cool. Okay, well, good job, and cannot wait to see you guys produce.